The Invictus League for the PC side. We are back here for round 5 around the Monza circuit, around the Italian Grand Prix. I am back this week. I'm sure Dan did a fantastic job last week. I didn't, of course, manage to catch it, unfortunately. I managed to catch up on the rerun of it, but yeah, I know that Dan did a fantastic job last week on his own, and I'm still very much looking forward to him being alongside me as he is tonight. How are you doing this evening, Dan?
Yeah, I'm doing brilliant. Coming off of the pan, it was quite nerve-wracking to do the OBS stuff by myself, but I'm glad to have you back. I think I do much prefer taking the back seat in the comm side with OBS, but it was a good experience to do that.
Yeah, no, it's always good for it to have, because I think it just means that you can just implement it more in other streams as well. So it does help a lot when you get to know to use OBS. So I'm glad that it all worked out for yourself last week, and hopefully going forward, you know, it's something that you'll be able to pick up relatively more. But enough about that. We are, of course, here, as I said, for round 5 for tonight. Of course, last week, I believe, I'm just trying to remember who it was that ended up taking the win. I believe it was actually Tommy in the Haas, actually picking up his first win last week around the Japanese circuit. So, sorry, at Suzuka. I'm losing my words tonight. I'm really sorry, but yeah, so managed to take the win last week at Suzuka, with Merckx coming second. I think only shy by about 0.2 of a second, and Skyzy picking up that final podium position last week. As I said, there's 11 corners around here, around the Monza circuit. 2 DRS zones, of course, one just being after Lesmo 2, and the final one, or the first one technically, being down the start finish straight down the Parabolica as well. I've seen that you've just quickly lagged out, so I'll get you back into the session quickly for you now. But yeah, of course, if you are new to the Invictus Racing League, make sure you guys do check out all of the socials down the bottom. Of course, the Invictus Racing League on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on Twitch, because we do have the Xbox F1 streams on the Twitch. If you're wanting to check out the Twitters, of course, it's at InvictusRL, or if you want to check out a certain platform, at InvictusRL_PSN_Xbox or _PC. Of course, for this being PC. You may want to check it out if you are interested in joining the PC side. You are, of course, going to the Twitter, and then you should be able to find somewhere that you can sign up. Or if you really just want to go direct with it, you can go to InvictusRacingLeague.com on the website. Of course, as you can also see, there's a big fat 0 in the middle of your screen saying that the times where we've raced at this circuit. So we didn't make it last season, sorry, for the first season of PC. So this will be the first time we do race it. Quite a few tracks that we are racing at for the first time on the PC side, and I'm very, very intrigued to see how it's going to go for tonight. As I said, of course, last week, Tommy did end up taking the win, bringing himself up into 3rd in the standings, moving up ahead of the Renault of Skyzy. Merckx still remains on the top, though, still not gone podiumless, I suppose. Make up that word now. He is sitting at the top on 52 points, as they're picking up that 2nd place last week at Suzuka. Scopefielder, again, not a very impressive race for him. His lowest finish that he's had, as well as Mexico, but he is still sitting pretty in 2nd on 35 points. I say sitting pretty. Tommy is only 3 points behind him, with taking that win last week. Goes up ahead of Skyzy, who is now dropped down to 4th position, picking up the 3rd place nonetheless. Kislyak down into 5th now with 25 points. Kangokon in 6th with 24. I believe actually had a penalty last week. I could be wrong on that one, but I'll have to have a double check. DC came in 7th. DC is in 7th, sorry, in 15 points in the other Haas. Jasko in 8th with 12. Sharp in 9th with 11 points. Ace Boy rounding out that top 10, who is actually reserving. I don't know if it's a reserve in the McLaren for this tonight, or he's actually moved to the McLaren full time. So I will get confirmation of that for yourselves next week. But I believe it's actually full time. He is now going to be in the McLaren. Lacquerate is in 11th with 8 points, tied with Ace Boy. In 12th is Mysterious in the other Mercedes with 7 points, so quite close between the two Mercedes guys. SK Fass in 13th in the Ferrari with 5 points. Wham in 14th with 2, who's actually unfortunately left the league, and same with another tool guy who was in 15th with 1 point. A couple guys that are without any points yet, Plot being one of them. Meyer, I think, has actually taken over from another tool guy who didn't end up finishing last week in Japan. I think he might have gotten the fastest lap from the looks of things, however, so not, I suppose, a bad debut for the Alfa Romeo, managing to at least get the fastest lap, unfortunately with without finishing the race though. Calo in the Red Bull, unfortunately, again, didn't end up finishing last week either. And again, as I said, there's a couple new guys that have also come into the league from what I'd seen last time out, and I will show you guys them now. So on your screens, of course, is the updated, I suppose, roster of the IRL PC F1 scene. We've got someone new in the Williams. I'm going to absolutely butcher his name. I know it's Waffle something. I think it's Waffle Lancher. I suppose that's probably the best way to say it. Yeah, he is, of course, here for tonight as well, and hopefully for the remainder of the season. But we shall just get straight into it because we are already quite a bit away through the qualifying. However, actually, before I do, I'll quickly run through constructors with yourselves. Of course, the Racing Point's still at the top with 76 points. Renault's didn't manage to actually gain anything, and neither did the Haas. They all got 16 points last week for their respective teams. AlphaTauris are still in 4th with 25. 5th are the McLarens with 17, with 6th Mercedes being 15 points. Sharp in the Alfa Romeo with Maya now is with 12 points. SK Fass in the lonesome Ferrari on 5, tied with the Williams of Wham and Ace Boy, who's now moved over to the McLaren. They are on 5 points as well, and the Red Bull's still without any points. Hopefully Kalo can change that tonight though. But as I said, we may as well go straight over to the race now, or straight over to the qualifying, because I have probably waffled on for a lot longer than what I probably should have done. So yeah, as I said, we'll get straight into it for yourselves right now, and we'll see who is currently where, as KangoCon is the one that is currently on the top with an 18.4 to his name so far, Dan.
Yeah, I've not been able to get back in the session. I don't think I've received an invite at all, but I'm just looking on the stream. Seems like KangoCon 18.4 as Maya actually has gone to the top, just ahead of that. Really strong from that. Yeah, I've just got your invite, so I'll get back into the lobby. Hopefully, I don't have any issues like I've had in the last couple of weeks, but I would expect, just knowing what for whatever reason I get crashes. I don't know why. I've launched it a different way, but hopefully it'll be fixed today.
Yeah, I suppose it's the Invictus way at this point for the PC side, just for this stream, I suppose. But you know, usually after one, it's all okay. So hopefully going forward, it should be okay from that. Yeah, as you said, a few guys actually improving on their laps. Maya being one of them, of course, debuting last week. I said he did get the fastest lap at Japan, and well, an 18.1 already, with still 10 minutes left to go in the session is very, very good. Just running on board with KangoCon as he's just starting his lap now as he makes his way towards the first chicane. A few other guys, of course, also out on laps as well. Our championship leader of Merckx also currently on a lap as he's making his way up towards, I suppose it's the second chicane. I still cannot remember the actual corner name of that, but runs very, very wide and into the wall, and he's already out of qualifying. So Merckx, not a very, very good start for the Brit in the Racing Point, our current championship leader. He is already out of qualifying with 10 minutes left to go, and the best position he is going to be starting in is in 4th place.
His teammate KangoCon almost made the same mistake that he did coming off that chicane. I don't remember quite the name of it, but really unfortunate for Merckx. An 18.6 is a respectable time, but it's certainly going to be beaten by a couple of drivers. We're watching KangoCon at the moment. He's just coming through the second sector split. He's 3/10 up on his lap. This could put him ahead of Maya, who did unfortunately DNF in the last race. I believe he got damaged at one point, but he was running in a pretty strong position before that, so definitely we have to watch out for him in this championship. But KangoCon through the final corner now, of course, the Parabolica corner, infamous around this circuit. We'll see him now crossing up the line. He could go onto regional pole here, and we'll see him cross the line by 0.02 of a second.
So he did end up beating that time of Myers as well, as you said, by 0.02 of a second. I'm sure Maya's probably going to have a little bit of an answer for that one, as well as the two Renaults. I was also just riding on board with Scopefielder very briefly. He went into P5 up ahead of SK Fast. Skyzy across the line, improves on his time with an 18.438, but still no position change for the Frenchman in the other Renault. And as I said, a few other guys I think are currently on laps as well, as I believe there was a Mercedes coming across the line, and that was Lacquerate going only 1/100th of a second behind our current championship leader. Merckx still hasn't been dropped off of that top 4 as of yet. In fact, actually, in the standings, he hasn't actually finished off of the podium. If he gets a bit low enough tonight, then I'm sure we may end up seeing him potentially drop off of the podium, as last week's race winner Tommy coming across the line to put himself into P3 with a 4.22 to his name, and I believe someone else also just came across the line. I think it might have been one of the McLarens. I think it was Jasko who ended up improving on his time to go into P10. No, it was actually Ace Boy going into P11.
Yeah, so Merckx already dropping out behind Tommy, who's looked really strong in recent weeks. Of course, he was able to pull off a pretty strong win last week. Of course, he had a 3-second time penalty, so he was about 3.2 seconds ahead on circuit by the end of it. So certainly he is one to look out for, but around the circuit is surprisingly pretty difficult to overtake because a lot of it is under DRS. So it's really hard to find an opportunity. If you're in a train, if you get caught in a DRS train, then it'll be so hard for you to actually take advantage of the drag reduction system, which allows you to open up your rear wing to just reduce that drag a little bit. But it's certainly going to cause some issues, especially if Merc falls quite far down the order. I don't believe we have many drivers on a lap. Kislyak through the final corner is invalidated at the moment. Could be going for another run here.
Yeah, I believe he is going to go for another run from the looks of things anyway. Mysterious also, I believe, is just making his way up towards the line. I don't know if that's going to be an actual lap he is going to do. No, it looks like he's just making his way into the pits. So the Mercedes just sitting down in P13 at the moment, with the other one being in P6. Tommy just making his way into the pits as well as Maya. In fact, you know what? We're going to go on board with him and ride out with his lap, because he is one that we really do need to look out for, especially if he's putting in times like that already early on in the session. Alfa Romeo, just as I said, riding on board with him at the moment, making his way down towards turn 1. Goes very, very deep into turn 1. I don't think what the Alfa Romeo would have wanted. He might end up backing off of that lap. Yeah, he certainly has backed off of that lap. So very unfortunate for Alfa Romeo, because I thought he may be trying to go for a very, very quick lap right now, but unfortunately didn't end up doing so. Kislyak has also backed off from his lap, so no improvement from him. So I believe DC, he's just making his way around the final corner, and he'll be the next one that will get a valid lap done.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for Maya to go so deep into the first corner. It really put him off for his run and just completely screwed it. But DC, will see if he makes it better through turn number 1. Looks like he's taking it very cautious through here, but a nice clean run, not unsettling the car at all. He's on a 19.1 at the moment, or a small enough time, and if he could just find a small improvement by about 2 or 3 tenths, he could be into the top 7, I'd say. We'll see him through the first sector split, already 3 tenths up, and that is through about 2 corners. We'll see him coming through the second sector now, going up to where our Merc crashed out. Luckily, he managed to get through and in through the Lesmo corners. One of the slower parts of the circuit, but certainly an enjoyable part. He really hooked it up perfectly well. He's pretty strong on this lap so far, I've got to say, about DC. Just coming under the old circuit now, with all the banking. Ace Boy retiring in the pit lane, as it's just a small improvement through the second sector. 3 tenths, just about 300 probably quicker than his previous best time. Still an improvement nonetheless. Through the final corner, he is just about to approach up towards the 50-meter board, breaking it down into I've just gone on board with him. There we go, back on board with him. He'll cross the line out the final corner, get the shortest run up to the line, and it's going to be an 18.7, so 8th position for him. Pretty strong.
Yeah, it was that improvement that he did need, although I think he might be able to get away with just coming straight back around, coming into the pits and getting himself out on a final lap. I believe, as I said, there's a few more people that are now making their way around the circuit. A newbie of Callow, who joined in last week. Well, I was going to say he is on a lap, but it looks as if he sort of backed off from his lap, so he's going to be going again very, very shortly. Last season's champion of Scopefielder, the one in the Renault, of course. He is on a lap currently. He's just made his way through Ascari, now making his way up towards Parabolica. Scope, as I said, he's not exactly had the season he's wanted so far. He has taken a win out in Russia for the 3rd race of the season, and I'm sure the Swede would want to do more than just take one win this season. He's going to be trying to gun for it and try and maintain his crown. Makes his way up towards the line. It's a P5, only just shy of his teammates' time, and I don't think we're going to see an improvement from the Swede for the remainder of this qualifying session. So we may see a few more guys end up trying to maybe go for a bit of a quick lap, as I believe that there was a Mercedes or someone I think hampered in the way. I'm not too sure who it was. It might have been DC, although I think he's actually invalidated on his time, as one of the McLarens has ended up binning it on a straight.
He's lost 2 tyres there. He must have been riding that curve on the right hand side, and then he got caught by the wall. But how on earth do you do that? Well, I believe that was Jasco, that his ace board already retired. So that's an interesting place to lose a car, I think. It is a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's I don't know what to make of that, to be honest with you. It's very, very strange, but well, yeah, so that's the 2 McLarens. Qualifying's over and done with. They are currently sitting in 11th and 12th respectively. Of course, it's still with probably a couple more improvements from a few more guys. Kislyak still yet to put in a time. Started off the season very, very strong. so far it's just no offense to him, but I feel like he's taken a little bit of a dip. Hopefully he is looking to come back in a bit more form from this race and carrying on as well, as our current pole sitter of KangoCon has just started his lap. But I'm currently riding on board with SK Fuss, as I believe him or Mysterious, I think it's actually going to be Mysterious, might be the first one across the line to do a lap. No, it will actually be SK, sorry. So running on board with a Ferrari again. From Russia, he had a good showing from that. Hopefully, we'll see him maybe come towards a bit more towards the top. As I say that, he's unfortunately invalidated on his lap.
Yeah, he validated that on the outside of the exit, I believe, of Lesmo too. Really unfortunate for him. It seems like Waffle in behind him has also invalidated on his time. Little, he's on an out lap, so I think the furthest driver up might be Tommy. If I'm not mistaken, he's just coming through the second sector split now. He's not improving on his lap. He needs 3 tenths to be challenging into the top two. Seemingly, running away with it, and a bad run through a Ascari there for Tommy, and that's pretty much gonna give away any chance of improving on his lap. But he's still got a little bit of time. He wants to go for back-to-back pushes.
Yeah, he definitely does, but the only problem is I can see that little fuel light flashing down that bottom right. I think Tommy is going to be out of fuel come the end of it. He did end up improving on his time ever so slightly, which could help him come towards the end of qualifying. Of course, the two Renaults, I believe Scope's actually now going for... No, he's not actually going for another lap, so Scope's best he's going to get. Skies, goes straight into the wall, and he's now out of qualifying. So the best that the Renaults are going to get are, again, respectively, 4th and 5th. Lacquerate is also currently on a lap, and he's actually purple in sector 2. Lacquerate in the Mercedes. As I said, he's more of he's very, very good in qualifying. It's just comes to the race. I think he's just, I don't know what it is. He's just got very good one lap pace, just not actual race pace. It's just more of a struggle. He keeps up with the top guys. But Lacquerate, again, qualifying can usually help, especially with the RS trains coming through here now, coming around Parabolica and up towards the line. Lacquerate, does he go on pole position? No, but he does go up into P3, jumping up ahead of Mert, jumping up ahead of Scope, Skyzy and Tommy, as none of those other guys are going to be making an improvement. KangoCon, I don't actually think improved on his time. Maya is the only really one that is going to be able to challenge, as I believe D Little down in 15th position is also going on his final run now, as well as he's making his way up towards the line. Where is he going to be put? He puts it into P10. Meyer is now the one that we need to keep our eyes out on, as well as DC just behind him, getting a nice tow from the Alfa Romeo up in front of him. But Meyer, again, this is on his second race of the season. Unfortunately, with that DNF last week in Japan, he's looking to try and get a bit of improvement, and he looks like he's actually just completely backed off. DC, I think, has also backed off, and into the pits he goes. I think that's qualifying done, unless Mysterious... no, he also makes his way into the pits as well. So that is qualifying all done and dusted. KangoCon, without having his teammate there, who have retired actually with 10 minutes left to go, KangoCon, I believe, has taken his first pole position.
I think you're right here. I do remember 2 Racing Points locking out the front row a couple of times this season. I do believe that was Merckx on pole both times, so KangoCon really getting his chance to shine here. He had a tow on his final lap from Mysterious. It would have been the perfect setup. He just completely tucked in behind him. He was finishing up a lap, yeah. So there was no issues with it. But unfortunately for him, he just wasn't able to keep it valid, and he went off somewhere in the first sector.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate for him as well. And well, I suppose this is really all eyes on Merck now to see where he's going to end up if he comes up throughout the grid. But KangoCon and Meyer, look how close it is. 0.02 of a second separated pole position, with Lacquerate down in third. Again, attempt split in those top 3, or just under attempt split in those top 3. Tommy in 4th, rounding out that second row. The 2 Renaults rounding out 5th and 6th, the third row, of course, respectively. Merck down in 7th, again, not where he wants to be. He wants to try and push his way up and keep that podium streak going. Kislyak in 8th, with DC in 9th. DeLittle down in P10, Ocado in 10th. SK Fuss on the poleman's pole position in 11th place. Waffle in 12th, with Jasco in 13th. Aceboy in 14th. The 2 McLarens there, not exactly where they want to be. Mysterious in 15th, and Plop in 16th position, on Mr. Stim down in 16th at the very back of the grid. And I believe he is back in the session, so hopefully we might even see him pick up a couple of points depending on what goes down at turn 1, because that infamous turn 1, especially in these conditions, is very, very interesting.
Oh dear, wet race around Italy. Forget about DRS trains, because Well, it looks like it's gonna be here to stay. Really heavy clouds above the circuit and pretty light drizzle, admittedly at the moment, but that track certainly looks quite wet, certainly for the intermediate tyres.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested to see how this is going to go. Of course, that's probably why everyone decided to go on a set of the softs to do their qualifying. I suppose it's only really standard to do that anyway. So I suppose that point I was about to make was just a bit invalid. But yeah, I suppose we wait and see because at the moment, Kango, Con and Maya are really the two that we would need to focus on for the start because anybody else that can get caught up behind, especially in these wet weathers, and we've seen what Skies is like in the wet, especially at Russia. He was just he was just a different class from everybody else, especially up ahead of the two guys that have won the championships, or one winning the championship, one that has won the championship, with Scope of course coming out on top at that point. But Skysy, again, there's another one we really need to look out for, especially in these wet conditions. It looks like it is only intermediate tyres for now, so we won't be seeing any wet tyres come into play. But again, I would say the two we really need to keep our eye out for. One is, of course, being our championship leader of Mert. The other one that we know is very, very quick in the wet is Skysy.
Yes, guys, is certainly he's gonna be licking his lips looking at this circuit. He'll be really happy to be in the wet conditions where he really has the chance of shining. He's finally picked up quite a bit of pace in this season. Of course, early on he wasn't in the strongest position from what I remember, but then after Russia, everything really just clicked for him, and he's found himself now consistently fighting for top 5 positions. I do believe he actually managed to pick up a podium in the last race, if not mistaken. Certainly around that 3rd mark. So he's probably going to be one who's going to get a good start. Tommy and Lacrate could be feeling the wrath of Skysy going into towards turn number 1 here.
Yeah, I believe it was actually in Japan. Yeah, he did end up picking up the podium. He picked up that final podium spot behind Mert. So, Skysy, as you said, he's been on a bit of form as of late. Of course, his teammate, the one that is currently in 2nd position in the standings, I think he wants to try and get back at him for what happened with last season. And I won't be surprised if Skysy, I think last season is really the thing that's sort of pushed him to try and beat his teammate this season. So I guess we'll wait and see when it comes towards the end of the season. Of course, at the moment, Mert is the one that's absolutely stormed up ahead of it. I think it's already about a race win ahead of Scopefielder. So Merck, I suppose he can afford for this race to be, well, I don't know if I would really call it a write-off already, but with him down in 7th position in the rain, it's going to be chaos around where he is. So if he gets wing damage, I suppose it gives Skysy, Scope, Tommy, all those guys a bit of a chance to jump up ahead, and same with Kangokon, or not jump up ahead, but jump up to catch him back up in the standings. But he will still remain at that top of the standings regardless of where he finishes today.
Yeah, it'll be a tough job for him, and of course, with turn 1 looming in the dry, it's a pretty tricky corner for all the drivers to get perfectly right and escape with no wing damage. But in the wet, that is just a whole other level. So in that midfield, they really do have to watch out. They can't back off like the guys at the rear, but they can't get ahead like the guys at the front.
Yeah, it really is all up to where these guys at the front are also going to brake, how early the guys behind them are also going to brake, just making sure they don't just, well, pile drive them into the back. But here we go, we've already got the 5 red lights on. They were on very, very quickly for me, but it is now lights out and away we go for round 5 of the Italian Grand Prix, and it looks like a very, very good start for the Red Bull. D Little at the back in 10th position, already jumping up ahead of Kislak. Kislak not getting a very, very good start. Kangokon get on an amazing start, and same with Lacrate at the beginning. I can already see a Haas very, very close to the back of Lacrate, but Lacrate trying to hold it down the inside of Maya, going in towards turn 2, and I think on traction he might have just held that down. Merck's already dropping down the place, already battling actually with DC down in 8th position. The two Renaults look like they've had a bit of a swap around. Scope now up into P5. Tommy just remaining down in P4. Maya, again, as I said, a very unfortunate start for him, but Merck trying to hold it down the inside of DC, almost giving a bit of a tap to the back of the Renault, but manages to avoid it. DC, though, trying to come back around the outside. Merck almost spinning it once again at that same corner he did in qualifying. Just remains up ahead of the Haas at the beginning of this race, so does manage to maintain that P7 position. D Little, as I said, getting a bit of a well, ended up staying down in P10. I thought he actually ended up jumping up, as there's a Haas that's going around. That is DC into the wall. All of his wing has just, well, it's just disappeared, completely gone from that front of the Haas car.
Yeah, huge amounts of damage for him. I wouldn't be surprised if safety car came out, but I think the opportunity might be gone. Maya's gone way off the circuit there in sector 3 at the Ascari chicane. DC for him a great second time because of corner cutting. But yeah, it looks like he just ran way too wide there. Did the Alfa Romeo car, and luckily he did escape that with no damage. That's pretty much gifted all the drivers in front of him a position, and now Maya will be onto the back of Merck's tyres. Are a little bit worse at the moment, but he could be coming back in him down the straightaway. He's certainly gaining on the Racing Point car coming in towards turn number 1. He might be trying to make an early opportunity to make an overtake. Pulled out the slipstream. He's certainly going for the move. He's having a half look on Merck. Merck's actually been gracious enough to give him the space. DC, that's not in the pit lane, that's out the corner. But here is Prix trying to virtual safety car coming out probably for DC there.
Yeah, I thought it was actually in the pit lane. It was literally looking like it was at the entrance of the pit lane. So, unfortunately for DC, he's now out of the session. A virtual safety car has now, of course, come out. Maya, I think, was about to maybe try and go for another opportunity on Merck. I think Merck just being absolutely blessed by the virtual safety car coming out. It's going to bunch a couple of these guys up a little bit more, because with all of them being under Delta, some might be a bit further ahead in that Delta than others. So Kango Chronicles still managing to maintain that lead. Lacquerate, as I said though, jumping up into second, with Tommy in third. Two Renaults, sorry, just behind the Haas. And I'm sure that the two Hasses are being a little bit tired at this point of just sitting behind, the two Renaults a bit tired of sitting behind each other and behind the Haas, because I'm pretty sure over these past few races, all they've seen really is just the back of the Haas.
Tommy's certainly been a really strong competitor for them. Green flag, they're back underway here in Italy, and out the Ascari chicane. I keep messing that one up. I keep trying to combine the words, but yeah, it seems like Tommy's got a bit of a slide on him, and it seems like he's already losing a bit of time to the drivers in front of him. Lacquerate and Kango ready to run away with it. Could probably put him back in towards Scopefielder, who's finally picking up some pace, but he's very slow. And I think Sky's going for the move here.
Maya's just going around that parabolica, just seeing it. He just lost traction at the end, or at the exit of it. Sorry, or midway through the corner, into the wall he goes. Wing damage he has now gotten, unfortunately for him, as SK and D Little battling it out now. SK just maintaining that position ahead of the Red Bull. Callow just making sure he stays in that P8, although a little bit of a slide coming out of the corner. Waffle now on his debut, trying to go around the outside of Callow in towards turn 3. The long sweeping corner again. I still cannot remember the name of a few of these corners, but Waffle does manage to get the move done around the outside. The Williams just making his way up into P8 now, and of course he's still got a couple of cars up ahead of him. But look at the top three, already separating each other by 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like Kangathon just beginning to run away with it a little bit. He's not been quite on form like he has been in the first couple of races in recent weeks, but it seems like one of the closest gaps on circuit at the moment is to Merck and Scopefielder. Two drivers we did expect to be champion rivals. Scope's just not got off the mark so far this season, and this could really be a tribute to what his season has been so far if Merck manages to steam by him. He's already lost position to his teammate, and he's already out of a second of him, so it just seems like Scope hasn't clicked in the wet conditions. Yeah,
again, as I said, it's Skyzy really is the one that's looks like the better of the two coming through the wet conditions. And well, Skyzy already, look how close he is to the back of Tommy, 0.5 of a second. I think the gap was already about a second, I think about 2 sectors ago. So Skyzy really now on a bit of a charge, and that proves it. The fastest lap going, of course, to the Frenchman at the moment, 31.1 to his name. Merck though, the current champion versus last season, or sorry, yeah, current champion versus our champion at the moment of Merck. He's just sitting behind the Renault, just keeping it a little bit patient. The Skyzy also looking on the attack on Tommy. Look like he got actually a lot better traction than what the Haas did. I'm just going to go on board with the Renault, because look how close he is to the back of the Haas now, as he may be trying to go around the outside, coming in towards the chicane. Tommy just moving a little bit left, a little bit right, closing the door on the Frenchman. A little bit naughty there, but I think it's still perfectly fine, and does maintain that position up ahead of the Renault.
Yes, Skyzy's pace is just undeniable at the moment, and you can just see how much more confident he is than his rival. It seems like his teammate Scope is having some trouble, but coming off the exit of the corner, it seems like Skyzy is going to try and seek this opportunity, using up his overtake down straightaway, as is Tommy. So they could be close together coming into Ascari, but it's not close enough to make a move. I really just think that he has to out traction Tommy at one point in a corner, maybe wait for the mistake to come from the Haas driver, and really just trying to attack. It's difficult to overtake in the wet conditions, and the ERS isn't as powerful. I don't think Skyzy cares, so he's still closing up to the back of Tommy here.
Yeah, I think Skyzy might see something going in towards turn one. He looks a lot more confident on not only on the brakes but also on the traction. You can see him just sort of dancing around Parabolica, just making sure he doesn't lose it on traction. Tommy, a little bit of a better exit out of Parabolica, but there we go. Skyzy's using up his ERS. Tommy, he's also using up his ERS, so we could be seeing a bit of a battle going in towards turn one. Is he going to go for the dive in towards it? No, he does not. Tommy does brake quite late though, and I believe Skyzy, if he could get a better run coming out of turn two, we may see some sort of move going in towards the next chicane. And looking at it, I think he's got a bit of a better traction than what the Haas has up in front. So here we go. The Frenchman now is going to have a second opportunity to go around the outside of Tommy this time in towards the chicane. But I don't think Skyzy once again is going to be close enough. Just going to have to remain behind the Haas for now. And look how much time, even though these two are battling up in front, look how much time he's already gaining on his teammate and from Merckx as well, just behind them. It's already 1.2 seconds is that gap. I think it was about 1.5 just then before he had to back out. But yeah, Skyzy, again, he seems to be the fastest driver on track. They're saying that. I think someone's just picked up the fastest lap.
Yeah, that was Meyer picking up the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Seems like Skyzy just trying to cool off a little bit, backing off from the Haas car, but it's so difficult to make an overtake in that corner, especially in the wet conditions, because you're going off of the dry line. The cars just naturally form through just driving on it and displacing all that water, and it's a lot less grip out on the outside there, and I don't think Skyzy was able to find any in the dry. He probably could have been able to make that move stick, but for now he's had to stick behind Tommy. It seems like through Parabolic he's taking a bit of a tighter line than the Haas car. Seemingly works out on exit, but mid-corner he seems to be just that slight bit slower than the race winner of last week in Japan, now on the podium. It could be on for a little bit of a streak, but I think Skyzy's got an answer for that one very soon. It seems like they're also catching Lacquerate ahead, so we can see a 3-car fight for P2.
Yeah, Kangakon looks like he's just now getting away. He's sort of keeping up the same pace as what he was with Tommy, but Lacquerate is someone that's starting to drop back a bit more. I wonder what his ERS is looking like. He is using it, well, he is using it now on the coming around the curve, but he's just having to, well, he's trying to make his way back up. It's actually Skyzy and Tommy now going side by side through the chicane. I'm sorry I missed it. I think he must have tried to go down the inside to have the outside for the end part of that chicane. And now that's brought Scope and Merckx right back in it, as Skyzy didn't end up managing to get that move done on the Haas. And now we're seeing this four-way battle here for the final place of the podium. And it would be for the top four, well, I think they are our top four at the moment in the standings.
Really close move for Skyzy there. He had the inside line, he had the position for a brief second, but it's lost them both a lot of time. It might be smart as old dear Lacquerate has just picked up 3 seconds after. I was going to say, it might be smart for Tommy just to let Skyzy through. Maybe try not fight him as hard as he is right now. Stick with the car, because they do seem to be pretty close on pace, and maybe try and catch back up to Lacquerate, but that won't be needed because he just picked up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits.
Yeah, certainly is. Kangakon, of course, picking up the fastest lap now of the race. I wonder if we're going to start seeing it going a bit dry, because the rain looks like it's easing up ever so slightly. And speaking of someone easing up ever so slightly, Skyzy once again easing up and closing down Tommy, but in towards turn one again, Tommy just shuts the door and making sure he is the one that is ahead. Scope again starting to lose touch to his teammate and the Haas up in front. Merckx, though, still doesn't seem to have an answer. He's still sitting down in P6 at the moment, as SK Fass now very, very close to the back of Merckx. I think Merckx needs to start looking behind him rather than in front of him, because SK could be on a bit of attack here.
Yeah, he's just gone purple for the first sector, has SK, so he could be bringing himself into the fight for a strong finishing position. The first 29 and the fastest lap as Tommy misses his apex through Lesmo 1. That's lost him about 3/10 off of Skyzy, so now it looks like he's showing signs of where is the Haas driver, because here comes Skyzy down the straightaway. He's not able to get close enough. He needs to be so much closer to try and make a send through a corner. He is improving through the second sector, of course, fastest lap. Don't mean too much in the race, but it is just a sign of how much quicker he is, because they've also dropped Scopefielder by about 1.3 seconds already.
Yeah, these two really are on a massive charge. I think Tommy might have had a little bit of a moment actually coming out of Ascari, because I just saw that he was on the right hand side. I don't know if he was trying to defend from Skyzy, but ended up pulling straight back onto the racing line. Skyzy, massive bit of oversteer coming through Parabolica, losing him a lot of time coming out of there. You can already see he's dropped back by about 7/10 now. Tommy, I think, is starting to get a little bit more of a gap. He's just feeling a little bit more comfortable on these tyres now, as I believe has it I don't know if it's just my view. It's still raining, but it's definitely a little bit of drizzle now. It's definitely eased up than what it was at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, you can also see just above the circuit, the clouds are beginning to part just a little bit, and the sun is beginning to peek through. So we could see some dry running in the next couple of laps. Of course, that is all dependent on if the rain stops. If the rain doesn't stop, it's unlikely that we'll go to slick tyres at all in this Grand Prix. I can certainly throw some strategies out the window in this one, as guys are seemingly just catching up to Tommy a little bit more. Scope's also kind of coming back into this race now, 8 tenths back from his teammate, so that's dragging along Merckx and SK. Waffle not too far back, as is D Little. So this race just kind of dragging on for these guys a little bit. I think they've all settled into a rhythm, trying to not get any wing damage off of each other and just not making mistakes.
I suppose we said we weren't going to see any DRS trains. We're still seeing just some sort of train at least, but not a DRS train. Yeah, of course, at the moment, Skyzy's still not being able to find any way past Tommy. Interestingly enough, Tommy's starting to lose touch to Lacquerate when Lacquerate has a 3-second time penalty to his name as well. So, Tommy, if he's not careful, could end up dropping out of that 3 seconds. Lacquerate, if it does end up going dry as well, or even through the pit stop phases, we could see Lacquerate jump up ahead of Tommy, and it could cause a bit of disaster, and Lacquerate could end up finishing on the podium once again in second position. But KangoCon has just absolutely run away with it so far. He's 4.5 seconds, nearly 5 seconds up ahead of Lacquerate in second position.
He's loving this at the moment. He's just taking it nice and calm. He's not using much ERS in this one either, so he's having a good time of it, and just driving calmly, driving his own race, and he's able to absolutely streak away from Lacquerate. For a brief moment there, when I was riding on board with KangoCon, it looked like it's just spitting now. It's almost at the point where there's no rain at all. So I'd be surprised if we don't get dry conditions at some point in this race. And it seems like the sun is also getting a little bit more intense over the circuit, so could be in for a little bit of dry running towards the end.
It does certainly look like it. It just depends. If it is the case that it is going to be dry running soon, it depends on what lap as well, because these intermediates, to my knowledge, they last about 12 to 13 laps, I believe. So if that is the case, I think all these drivers are really hoping that it starts to just dry up, well, ASAP, because otherwise they're in a bit of trouble when it comes to trying to manage their tyres. And if it is the case it's drying up, we may see a couple punctures before we see a change in the tyres as such.
It's really something you wouldn't want to see in this one. Hopefully everyone can get away without a puncture at all, and with Kiziak moving ahead of D, it all seems like he's just back onto the charge. One of the only drivers to lose positions in this race. Everyone has made up spots, of course, from DC and Maya having their instances. Speaking of Maya, I believe it was about 30 seconds back from blow up. Well, blow up is in AI mode, so I guess that doesn't really count. But I thought he closed up by about 15 seconds to him.
Well, if he did, that would still be a very, very impressive thing. I think he's still at least caught up to those guys up in front of him by about 3 or 4 seconds anyway. And to my knowledge, I believe he still holds the fastest lap of the race anyway. Yeah, he does a 29.9, the only one in the 29s at the moment. So Maya is still relatively quick anyway. It's just unfortunate for what had happened in the second lap of the race, where it's now dropped him down all the way at the back end of the grid. Jasko and D Little just changing positions here for 10th and 11th. Jasko just now in the final points position, as SK Fast still very, very close to the back of Merckx. Down in P6 and P7. Scopefielder, by the way, is absolutely, well, he's been absolutely dropped by his teammate. Nearly a 3-second gap already to his teammate behind him. As once again, Skyzy very, very close to the back of Tommy. And he looks like he's gotten a better run out of Parabolica this time. He's using that overtake. He wants this move done. You can see Lacquerate up in front. 1.6 seconds now separating him. Tommy, he's going to try and maybe hold the inside in towards turn 1. Skyzy does back out early, but he's going to try and get a better run coming out of turn 2. Let's have a look. We're running on board with the Frenchman as we speak now. Coming up towards... I've now remembered the corner of Curva Grande. Now he looks like he's got the much better run, and overtake is now on for the Frenchman. We're going to soon go down the outside to have the inside corner of the chicane. He tried to do this last time. Is he going to get it done this time? He's gone purple in sector 1. Let's have a look. They're still keeping it side by side. Tommy, he's had to back out of it. Skies, he tried to get a bit of a better run coming out of the chicane, however, but has to remain behind the hash for now. Skies, he's still not able to find a way. Tommy doing a absolute masterclass defending against the Frenchman.
Yeah, as you said, stoic defense from Tommy in this one. They found a way to catch back up to Lacqueret. They both did use up a lot of their overtake to really fight each other, but I think Skies is getting a little bit frustrated with Tommy, because I think just on the straight, Tommy probably moved a little bit too much. He moved just a slight bit so that Skies couldn't really fit a car in towards turn number 1. So, I mean, that is of course up to perception, and if Skies does want to report that, I could see where he is coming from, but you just got to bring it back and try and go for another move. It doesn't look like he's very close to really try and make one on towards turn number 1. Is it just me, or is there no rain anymore?
It looks as if it has actually stopped raining. So yeah, the rain completely stopped now, and we should be seeing dry conditions possibly within the next 2 to 3 laps. And as I said, the cut-off, or the tyres usually last around 13 laps in the intermediates. That's still in 2 laps time. So really, I think we're going to start to see a few of these drivers now struggling before it reaches these slick tyres, unless it ends up going slicks either this lap or the next lap. Yeah, I think a few of these guys are going to start to struggle. We might even see a couple guys maybe make a bit of a pit stop to go on a fresh set of intermediates. It'd be a bit of a silly idea, but if they want to risk not having a puncture, or if they do end up picking up a puncture, then they're going to have to.
Yeah, it's they're in a bit of a precarious position at the moment. If this rain had stopped about 1 or 2 laps ago, it would have been perfectly fine. But hopefully they can go just that little bit longer, to the point where soft tyres, well, they probably go on mediums towards the end, but where the slick tyres are perfectly applicable. Of course, the conditions aren't going to improve with the snap of a finger. It's going to be a gradual thing. So they've got to negotiate in these wettish conditions just for a little bit longer. Then they can come in for a set of slicks, and then the track will get a little bit better. But there's still no small amount of spray on circuit, and especially if you ride on board with someone who's in a bit of a train, there's still a lot of water being kicked up. So we're just that little bit too far off from dry running.
We certainly are. SK Fast, massive bit of oversteer coming out of Parabolica. I thought he was closing up to the back of Merckx, but unfortunately that has happened. And, well, he's dropped back quite a bit from him. Waffle now only 9/10 of a second behind him. Again, Waffle won his debut in P8. It's not a bad, I suppose it's not a bad debut for him as SK Fast. Massive bit of oversteer once again going in towards turn 1. I think just took too much of the curb, almost just sent him around, but was managed to keep it on the circuit, keeping up behind our current championship leader and keeping it behind last season's champion as well. As Tommy now back in the 1 second gap of Lacqueret. Of course, no DRS at the moment because we're still running on a wet track. So no DRS is being used, or is allowed to be used at the moment. And again, it's very, very close because Skyzy, look how close he is once again to the back of Tommy. However, this time Tommy, he will have a bit of slipstream to help him at least stay up ahead of Skyzy. Of course, it's going to be a bit of dirty air or a bit of water spray, but it's still something that will help him at least get a bit more, a little bit more drag down the straight.
Yeah, it's going to help him in comparison to Skyzy, but Skyzy probably going to get benefits of double slipstream. They scored picking up a 3-second time penalty. Of course, Lacqueret will drop behind these two regardless of where he finishes on circuit if they stay within the 3-second window, which they do have on the Mercedes car. So he's just got to navigate these corners. Seems like Skyzy's got a really good run on Tommy coming down towards the first corner. He could be trying for a move. XK Fast going in pretty early into the pit stop, as is Jasko. What tyres they're going to be going on to? I believe it's another set of intermediates for SK Fast. It's mediums for Jasko. He's going really early onto the softs, but I guess the puncture was looming for him. Yeah, it's just come out for a bad time for them.
Yeah, very, very bad time. It says yellows in sector 1. That's actually the Red Bull of Delito or Callow. Unfortunately for him, he has gone around at the exit of turn 2. So very, very unfortunate for the Red Bull. He was running actually a pretty decent position, but now down in 11th position outside of the points for him. Yeah, I suppose at the moment we're just in a little bit of a limbo. It's just interesting to see how far Jasko's going to be in comparison to everybody else. Of course, Maya's just behind him, 10 laps on the intermediate tyres. Jasko, of course, may not need to make another pit stop again. However, I feel like it was a bit too early to come in for a set of slicks. It might be able to hold it. It might have been able to hold it as he's actually completely cut the chicane. Maya's now gotten past him, so it's definitely not ready for slick tyres as of yet. But as I said, I think we may see some puncture territories for a few guys. They need to try and just preserve their tyres. And if they do, then well, happy days for them, as I believe Lacquerate is coming into the pits.
Oh, he's just about sped. Coming into the box, that's about 5 kilometers per hour. He's on for another set of intermediate tyres, so the puncture is looming. That now completely gets rid of Tommy's advantage of having the slipstream, and Skies is already all over him. He's now 2/10 back coming off the exit of the second corner, and I think he's now finally going to try and make a move stick on Tommy because he's got a much better run coming around the outside. Tommy moving to the centre of the circuit. He really doesn't want to give this one up to Skiesy, and he just outbrakes himself to try and defend from the Frenchman. He's now going to have a pretty poor exit in comparison to the Renault car, and you can see how much he's hounding the back of the Haas car. He's not giving this one up. You gotta give credit to Tommy for defending this one.
Yeah, Tommy's doing a very good job of defending Skiesy though. I think he really is starting to get annoyed at the fact that Tommy is defending well as he is at the moment. It just looks like in a straight line speed, Skiesy just looks, well, unfortunately for him, he looks a bit slower in a straight line. Tommy just looks like he's gotten the necessary setup to stay up ahead of the Frenchman. I think it's just more of the case, the traction that he gets a lot better out of the two. And I think that's really where Skiesy's going to need to try and go for a move. It's really going to need to be on traction. Parabolica is an example of it. I mean, we'll see how much he like closes up to the back of Tommy through Parabolica. As you can see, Tommy, in fact, actually going into the pits. Lacquerate also came on for a fresh set of intermediates. It really is to the point where a few of these guys, I think they're not trying to risk it. I think they're really going to try and go for another set of intermediates, because it doesn't look like this track is drying up anytime soon.
So Tommy's actually putting on a set of medium tyres. He will probably take a set of soft towards the end, but I guess just yeah, I'm not too sure what that logic was to go onto the medium tyres. The soft can certainly make it, but the track is not drying up at a rate they'd expect, and that is just proven by a intermediate runner, fresh intermediate runner of fast, putting in the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Now, not too far off the back of Tommy, who's going to be crawling around the circuit. He's just not getting dry around here, and Skiesy's off. Skiesy's in after Lesmo 2. He's just gone off the circuit. It looks like he's out, run the corner too wide. Now Scopefield has gotten past him, and that's actually putting it in between Merckx, who's now got a 3-second time penalty.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So Skiesy's gone from, well, he's gone from hero to zero. Now, unfortunately for him, he's under pressure from Merckx behind him. Merckx, of course, with that 3-second time penalty now picked up to his name. Well, I suppose how the tables have now turned. Jasko's just gone around at turn 2, still being on those medium tyres. He just cannot seem to find any grip in it. And Tommy as well, still struggling on those medium tyres. Merckx now trying to go side by side with Skiesy, going in towards Parabolica. Skiesy, again, it was looking like a very good race for him. And now I think this is where his tyres are absolutely shot. Are we going to see any more guys making their way into the pits? I think Skiesy is one of them. He is coming in. Merckx is also coming in. But again, I still don't think it's time for I still don't think it's time for dries. I think it is still I think it is still intermediates weather. I see Merckx going for a fresh Skiesy going for a fresh set of softs. What about Merckx? Merckx also for a fresh set of softs. So I wonder if it is time then, because it doesn't look as if it is. I'm seeing Tommy losing a lot of time to SK up in front, and he's actually just been passed by Maya.
Not time for the slick tyres. I don't know what they've really thought about this one here, because they're just trying to preserve themselves without the extra stop. But they're going to lose a whole bunch of time. The track is not drying up at a quick rate whatsoever. These guys are going to lose so much time. You can see Maya on exit of turn number 2, absolutely mullering the 2 slick runners who've just come into the pit lane, just come out the pit lane, sorry, and he's gone right past them. Of course, he has got a lot of pressure in intermediate tyres, but they are going to get to the point where they will start to go off. The track not drying up at what they would have wanted. This could put some guys who really don't really find themselves in the top of the field in such a good position here.
Yeah, I mean, KangoKon's still staying out on these intermediate tyres. 17 laps now he has done on them. Scopefield is 17.5 seconds behind our current race leader. To be fair, KangoKon, if he wanted to, he could literally make a pit stop for a fresh set of intermediates, and he'll be fine. He'll come out around where Kislyak is at the moment in 4th position, whereas all the other guys around him, I mean, it doesn't look like this track is drying up. Probably even still for a couple more laps. So the guys that are on a fresh set of slicks, I feel like it's way too early for him. Lacquerate's just set the fastest lap of the race, so I think the track is starting to dry up ever so slightly, but still not enough, as SK now setting the fastest lap of the race.
SK, he's dropped the guys who pitted for the slick tyres by about 11 seconds, I think. That is probably my maths being a bit rubbish. I think it is actually that's 14 seconds he's dropped them, so that is some staggering margins for about 2 laps of racing. KangoKon, he can pit and come out. I'm just going to check the actual gaps. He'll come up behind Kislyak if he were to pit now, because the pit loss time is 22.5 seconds. Challenge flags through sector 2. I do believe that might have been a Mercedes car. Could have been Lacquerate being gone off ever so slightly. I don't know which one that was, but yeah. Unfortunate for the drivers that pitted early for the slick tyre, which just hasn't worked out. But for guys like Lacquerate, SK Fast, and Maya, they're in a really good position.
Yeah, I feel like Lacquerate and SK Fast have really benefited throughout all of this. KangoKon's still opting to stay out. Jasko's back in the pits. So I'm assuming he's either going to get... He might have gotten himself some wing damage from the amount of spins that he's had. Yeah, you can see that front right end plate damage. And he has a 10-second penalty he needs to serve. That is actually the Red Bull of D Little that went round. And he's back around once again. The Scope is now into the pits. Maya has now gotten past D Little. And Maya, of course, making that pit stop early on from having that spin at Parabolica. Ace Boy is now in. Scope's gone on a fresh set of softs. I still don't think it's time. I'm still seeing a lot of spray coming off of the driver's tyres, as D Little has actually been disqualified from the session for being parked in a dangerous location.
Yeah, unfortunate for D Little there. That looked like it was Ascari where he got disqualified. Now it looks like the track is beginning to dry up just that little bit more, but I still they're on the cusp. And Scopefield will probably benefit out at the end of this by jumping Fast and Lacquerate, but I'm still on the fence about whether it is time for softs. There's just the slightest bit of spray coming off the tires. Ace Boy picking up the time penalty. McLaren having a dreadful day today as Scopefield are locking up at the chicane. He's gone straight on there. Luckily he's not picking the penalty. That's allowed for Mara to go right past him. He'll start to struggle on the intermediates too, as Jasko, he's also an incident. So Slick Runner's not in a good position right now.
I tell you what, I would actually say Lacquerate could actually be on for again for that second position, and I think SK Fast could be on for third. Looking at the gap between SK and SK and Scope, in case it does end up going to dries, because it looks like the spray is it looks like it's starting to ease off. There is still quite a bit of spray coming off of people's tyres, but it looks like the spray is starting to ease off. It looks like it's still... I don't know. It's a really tough one to call, because Kislyak and Waffle now into the pits. Waffle going on a fresh set of softs. Kislyak also a fresh set of softs. SK Fast setting the fastest lap of the race. So it is still intermediate weather. Of course, if you're making your pit stops now, it probably is beneficial to go on a fresh set of slicks. Especially considering that, well, I suppose it really is needed. I don't know. KangoKon has definitely got on a pit stop ahead of everybody else, so if he wanted to, he can really afford to come in, put on maybe even a fresh set of soft tyres, or a fresh set of intermediate tyres, come in again, and he'll still come out possibly ahead of Kislyak.
It's just such a weird one here. It stopped raining about lap 10, around there. It just completely stopped raining. Probably a little bit later than lap 10 actually, I'd say. About lap 12, it just completely stopped raining. It seems like there's a car park going down at turn number 1. That is all the drivers in about position 9, but say around 12, as Maya's coming for a fresh set of slicks. He's now overtaken Tommy, who's just thrown away a brilliant result in this one. All these drivers picking up penalties left, right, and centre. It seems like Lacquerate gets past his teammate, easy move for him there. He just allowed them to go back through. I'm more surprised that KangoKon he's not having any issues at all, and
Yeah.
he's just 28 seconds ahead of his nearest rival. He's had a stellar performance today.
I'll tell you what, though, Mysterious has just made his way into the pits. It is still, it looks like it is still intermediate weather, as SK is actually coming into the pits with 5-lap old intermediate, so we might be seeing this crossover stage now. And if that is the case, Mysterious, I think, has actually had a very, very good opportunity to make that way in, because now that Mercedes, he's going to be on the podium. Kislyak, I don't think he's actually going to get the jump on him, because you can see he's now just made his way out of the pits. There's Kislyak, just coming across the start-finish straight. I think Mysterious is on for a podium, you know. Kislyak has just jumped up ahead of SK Fast. SK Fast, in fact, actually, he got too much. Well, he lost traction coming out of the pit lane, and well, he's ended up cutting the corner. He's ended up cutting out the white line. Kislyak in fourth. Mysterious is in third. It's still looking like it's intermediate weather because Lacarate is getting well ahead of him. KangoCon, I don't know. He's surely got to make a pit stop now. He's been 20 laps on these intermediates. Yeah, he makes his way into the pits. But I wonder if he's going for a fresh set of slicks or if he's going for a fresh set of intermediate tyres, because you can still see the spray coming off of people's tyres.
Probably expecting to go on set of slicked tyres. I did crash.
He has, yeah.
Crashed like he always does, but I'm back in. I luckily had an invite from Merck, which was very kind of him to send me a couple more. But I'm just loading back in now. Yeah, set of slick tyres is probably the correct call because those intermediate tyres will not be in their prime really towards the end of the Grand Prix. It certainly is getting drier. I think more rain does get kicked off of the intermediate tyres because of the treading that they have rather than the soft, so it doesn't look as bad when you run on board with a soft run. It actually seems like there's pretty much the minimum amount of spray possible. There's a lot more coming off the intermediate tyres than there is the softs.
The thing is that Lacarate is still close to the back of KangoCon, with KangoCon just putting on a fresh set of slicks. Look how close he's just gained on him. I think Lacarate might have made the right call going on a fresh set of intermediate tyres, because he looks like he could now go into the lead of this race. Well, yeah, look at that. KangoCon, not a very good run out of Lesmo too. Here goes Lacarate for the race lead. He has that 3-second time penalty. KangoCon, I think, is going to try and hold on. He's led this entire race from start until this point. Lacarate is going to have a bit of a later braking, going around the outside of KangoCon in towards Ascari, and that is move done for Lacarate. Now, he needs to get this gap, because it's still looking like intermediates are that tyre to beat on. It's just a case of, I think Lacarate is hoping and praying it stays as that weather, as KangoCon. Massive lockup going in towards Parabolica. You can just see the exit that Lacarate's gotten out of Parabolica. He needs to get that 3-second gap ASAP before it does end up turning into slick weather. Otherwise, that's essentially the race win for him done. He's still got enough time to make a pit stop for a fresh set of dries anyway, and he'll still come out ahead of Mysterious. So Lacarate, he's at least guaranteed a P2 unless a safety car comes out. But at the moment, I think Lacarate wants to try and push for that first position.
He has got 8 seconds of time penalty because he sped into the pit lane for his first stop of the Grand Prix, so he's got to pull out an 8-second gap. More of a job for him. I'm looking on board with him. It seems like the spray has greatly reduced, and KangoCon's not losing too much time like he was through just this part last lap. So maybe finally on lap 23, there's been no rain for about 11 laps here, and finally we get to the point where the slicks are coming into their own. And I think, yeah, KangoCon, he's found a bit of grip, he's found the groove, and he's not losing all that much time off the back of the crate. So, unfortunately for Lacarate, he's now probably got to make this pit stop.
Yeah, DRS has now been enabled, so Lacarate, I think it is time for him to make that pit stop. As I said, he can go on a fresh set of softs. He'll still come out in second position, so he's not particularly losing out on anything. The only problem is those 8 seconds of penalties. He's going to have to serve the 5 seconds in his pit stop. And I'm assuming we're going to see him make his way into the pits this lap. Yeah, so he's making his way in. As long as he doesn't speed in the pits again, which it doesn't look like he has, he's going to have to serve a 5 seconds. He'll come out. Again, it will still be ahead of his teammate anyway. And his teammate, I think, has he only got 3 seconds of penalties to his name? He does. So he needs to get at least another 5 tenths out on Kislyak. And it looks like we might even see a Mercedes double podium with KangoCon taking that top step of that podium.
Yeah, this is the Mercedes cars have not had the best season so far. I do believe they're joint on 8 points. So this will be a really strong showing from the two Mercedes cars. Finally, the slicks are in their prime, and we could start to see some overtakes. It seems like someone could already be taking advantage of this. Debutant Waffle, actually, I believe there's already been a move between Merckx and Maya. But down towards turn number 1 comes Waffle. Doesn't seem like he's close enough to make this move. But P5 on debut would be something to be quite proud of.
Yeah, it certainly is. As Merckx once again now getting that move done on Maya. Maya, he unfortunately doesn't have that DRS. He did pick up just the fastest lap though, but that's because the dry is tracking up. The track is drying up. But yeah, unfortunately for him, he's now back down into P9. But Maya, I think it looks like he's still picked up a set of points. Skyzy though behind both Merckx and Maya hasn't got a penalty. Whereas of course the guys up ahead do. Although Sky's getting a little bit of a bad run coming out of turn 2. And now we're just looking back on board with this P5 battle here. Kangocom, of course, with the fastest lap, 28 seconds up ahead of Lacquerate and up ahead of Mysterious. So, yeah, I think he's just... I think this is his to lose. If he ends up spinning it out, I think that would probably be one of the biggest battles that we would have seen. Waffle getting the move done on SK, leading up in towards Ascari. So Waffle, again, as you said, on his debut, is now up into P5.
He's having a really strong showing, and I do believe there's quite a bit of support for him in the chat, so I'd assume that they are quite pleased to see him all the way up in 5th position, starting from, well, he's starting 7 places back, starting in 12th, and now to be in P5. He's had a really good race. I think he had a good race in Mysterious. He started in 15th position. He's now in 3rd. He's on the podium, and he can drop off to Kislyak, but if he manages to pull 3 seconds gap to the AlphaTauri car, then it could be a very, very strong showing.
Certainly will. It looks like Kislyak is starting to gain on him, but another one that's also gaining is Maya on the back of Merckx. Here we go. He's going to lose out of the place out. Maya with that DRS. Lean down in towards turn 1. Brakes very, very late going in towards turn 1. And Merckx just taking that line as normal. Unfortunate for Maya, he's just gone way too deep into turn 1. And has, well, he locked up and... Well, it looks like he is going to potentially lose DRS out to Merckx. Merckx, by the way, as I said, I think he wants to write the race off. He is in 8th position, our current championship leader, but I think luckily for him, his rivals are not having a very good race either. Scope is in 7th, only 1 place up ahead of him. Skyzy in 10th and Tommy in 11th. I think Merckx realistically has just been gifted, I suppose, a lifeline to the fact that it's not only him out of the top runners that aren't particularly having a good race. I'll tell you who is having an absolute great race though, is the other Racing Point of Kangocon. 26.5 seconds in 1st position. And he's pretty much led it, as I said, from start to finish, other than when Lacquerate overtook him for about a lap and a half before it went to slick tyres. And Kangocon, again, as I said, he has not put a fault wrong in this race. He stayed out as long as he could on those intermediate tyres, and it was impressively 20 laps he stayed out on those intermediate tyres. We've of course got just 1 and a bit more laps to go for the Racing Point, and in all honesty, I'm either going to say him or Mysterious as my driver of the day already.
It's hard to disagree with you there. He has been absolutely incredible. Tommy, he retires in the pit lane. In 11th place, I guess he could have taken the flag, but I think we'll let him off for that one, because it has been a bit of a frustrating race for a lot of these drivers, I'd say, with the conditions just not improving at all. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish and keep up that streak that he'd had in the last couple of weeks. But on the final lap of the Grand Prix, at least, for only 1 driver actually, Kangocon has begun lap 27 of 27, and he is on a flyer this one. He could be on one of the Grand Slam finish almost.
I'll tell you what's a bit interesting actually, is Mysterious has just picked himself up a 3-second time penalty. Kislyak is very, very close, as Kangokon's picked himself up a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits, interestingly. But Waffle is 5.5 seconds behind Kislyak. He needs another 5/10, and Waffle on his debut race will be picking up 4th position, which is a very, very good result from where he had started. And same with Kislyak. Kislyak, I believe, was towards the back end of the grid at the start of this race, and he's now in 4th position. It looks like it's just been a complete role reversal of the grid of from what it started as. But KangoCon is the only one that sort of remained on top, as Maya getting past the other racing point. But we're right on board with KangoCon, as he's now just got one more corner to go around the Parabolica. It's usually his teammate that is the one that's finishing either on the podium or up ahead. And it's looking like it's a different scenario, as SK's actually gone around at the chicane. But here we go, KangoCon up towards the line. He got a 5-second unserved time penalty, but I don't think he really cares about that. KangoCon does take round 5 of the Invictus PC F1 League. Lacquerate, I just want to say a massive congratulations to him, because as I said, I usually say that he's a bit of a quali merchant. And, well, tonight he's proven me wrong. He's held his own throughout the entire race, and he is managing to come across the line to finish in 2nd position and the fastest lap of the race. Mysterious, again, a valiant effort from him. Unfortunately, due to penalties, he's going to drop down behind Kislyak and behind Waffle. But Kislyak is the final podium position, and Waffle on his debut race finishes in P4, 5 tenths up ahead of Mysterious. It's still got to give credit to Mysterious though, finishing in P5. Scope will end up finishing in 6th position, and this is the battle. 8th position, Merck and Maya. It's up to the line. They both have the same amount of penalties. Who's going to finish and where? And Maya does get ahead of Merck. 0.04 of a second. Skyzy will jump to both of them, and Maya does pick the fastest lap of the race in the end as well. And we've just got Jasko to make his way around the corner, around Parabolica and up towards the line. Jasko, again, it's a race to forget for him, but that is all she wrote for round 5, Dan.
Who'd have thought at the end of that one we'd be seeing that finishing order? You'd have to give it to KangoCon. A dominant display from the Frenchman, from the Racing Point driver. That'll be one he'll be celebrating tonight, and he stands atop the podium in Italy. But of course, some other really strong performances. Of course, Lacquerate, back-to-back points for him, and they're not just small, lower-end finishing positions. They are very strong respective positions for him. And finally, Kislyak, of course, getting back onto the podium. Top 3, all having brilliant days today.
Yeah, those 3 on the podium. As I said, they've done very, very well to get, of course, where they are. KangoCon just absolutely obliterated the field tonight, and it's well deserved that he is on that top step of that podium. Lacquerate, of course, also being in that 2nd position. I don't think we was expecting Kislyak though to be in that 3rd position. Very, very well done to him, picking up that 3rd. Same with Waffle and same with Mysterious. All of them. Kislyak started 8th, Waffle started 12th, and Mysterious started 15th, and they end up finishing 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So a very good result from from all 3 of those guys. Unfortunate for Mysterious with those 6 seconds of penalties though. Otherwise that would have been a double Mercedes podium. Scope starts where he finishes in P6 again. It's a race to forget for him, although he does end up jumping a few more points onto Merck. Again, Merck will still hold that lead of the championship. But SK on that final lap, having that spin, puts him down in 7th position. Only just up ahead of Skyzy, 4 tenths in the end. But Skyzy in 8th with Maya in 9th and Merck in 10th, with that very crazy last lap battle between those two. Blow-up, I think it's Ghost, ended up finishing in P11, Jasko in 12th, and then our unfortunate DNFers of Tommy, Aceboy, Casso and DC at the very beginning of that Grand Prix. But Dan, I mean, that race, I think that was one we just was not expecting to even be on the podium. Well, maybe KangoCon, because I know he's shown how good he is around here, or shown how good he is in general. He just hasn't been able to show it because of, well, his teammates, the one that's really taken the limelight.
Yeah, it was a really, really strong showing from KangoCon, and I think that is definitely the recognition that he deserves, to have a race like that one. Hopefully, we can see it in closer calls with his teammate and the Renault car as well, and Tommy, if they finally do manage to all kind of have the perfect race in scraps with each other. But as for today, they're done, and they can either regroup and come back next week, or they can celebrate about this one tonight.
Yeah, no, they certainly can indeed. So that is all she wrote, as I said, for the round 5 of the Italian Grand Prix. Dan, have you got any final thoughts for what we have witnessed for tonight?
Oh God, I've got to say that is just a race that I'd never have thought would have happened. Having the wet stay with us for so long. Hopefully next week in Austria, I believe, it can be a little bit more linear in the developments in that one.
Yeah, we shall wait and see. But as Dan said, of course, we are at Austria next week. So make sure you guys are tuning in for that one. Of course, as I said, PlayStation F1 on Monday nights at 8 o'clock, PlayStation F2 and Xbox F1 at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and of course tonight for PC F1 and F2, as well as PlayStation F3 and F4 at 8 o'clock as well. So make sure you're all tuning into those. And as I said, make sure you guys also check out all of the socials, as I said at the beginning of the stream. Thank you to everybody for watching and tuning in tonight, and we will catch you guys, of course, for next week, as I said, around the Austrian circuit for round 6.